Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbana zidna ilma, Allahumma faqihna fid din. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, we are continuing on our study of the book Riyadh al-Salihin, the hadith collection by Imam Nawawi, rahimahullah. Still on the very first book, and we are in the chapter on ikhlas, or the intention, the sincerity of your intention. So we have a narration from Sahih Bukhari. It was narrated that this is an interesting hadith by the riwayah, the narration, Ma'an bin Yazid bin Akhnas. So Ma'an bin Yazid bin Akhnas, radiallahu anhum. All three of these men in this chain were companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Ma'an, his father Yazid, and his grandfather, his grandfather Akhnas, all of them were companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's one of those interesting things about this hadith. Reported. So also it's the grandfather telling the father telling the son. This hadith that the grandfather heard from the Prophet ﷺ. Just imagine that you are in this chain, that you're in your lineage, you have the Prophet ﷺ talking to someone directly, and you're narrating that several generations down. My father, so it's Ma'an saying, my father set aside some dinars for charity, for sadaqah, and he gave them to a man in the masjid. And I, Ma'an, I went to that man and I took back those dinars. So in other words, like he's like, okay, I need these. He said, his father, I had not intended for you. My intention wasn't to give to you, my son. I wanted to give to somebody else. So we went to Rasulullah ﷺ and put forth the matter before him to the Prophet ﷺ. So they brought this issue to the father. So again, Yazid, the father, gave money to someone in the masjid as sadaqah, or to give as sadaqah. The son went and received it. And the father's like, I didn't mean to give it to you. And so the Rasulullah, when it was presented with this issue, he said, Yazid, the father, you got your reward because of your intention. So your intention was fulfilled. And he said to me, Ma'an, you are entitled to what you have taken. So Ma'an was allowed to receive this money as sadaqah, even though it's from his father, and his father did not intend it for his son. And this is a hadith narrated in Al-Bukhari. So one of these important points of niyyah that we learn from this is that the niyyah is fulfilled by the side of the one who does it, not by the result. So for example, in this case, Yazid, the father of Ma'an, intended to give the money not to his son, to somebody else. Like, if I want to give to my son, I'll give to my son. And he intended it as sadaqah. His son ended up with the money and received it. The father still gets the reward of giving sadaqah, and the son was allowed to have it, and the Prophet saw no problem with this. So also it could be that you intend something, but the outcome would be different. I don't know if somebody has some example they want to share, but basically the point is our intentions are not measured by the results or the outcomes. And we know this makes sense because we are not in charge of outcomes or results. Outcomes and results are solely in the domain of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are only responsible for what's in our hand, what we do with our actions and abilities, and what we intended by that. Since that was a little bit of a short hadith, I'm going to do the next one, which is a little bit longer, but inshallah it'll be worth it. So this is narrated by Abu Ishaq Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, radiallahu an, who was one of the Ashra Mubashara fil Jannah, one of the 10 who were given the glad tidings of Jannah by the Prophet Muhammad while they were still alive. So Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, more commonly known that way, he narrated this. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam visited me in my illness, which became severe in the year of Hajjat al-Wada'a. So the Sa'ad ibn Waqqas was sick, and it was during Hajjat al-Wada'a. So I said, Ya Rasulullah, you can see the pain which I am suffering, and I am a man of means, and there is none to inherit from me except one daughter. Should I give 2/3 of my property in charity? So the situation is Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas has no one to inherit from him except one single daughter. And he felt like he was going to die at this time. He didn't, but he thought he was going to die at this time. And so he's saying, should I give away 2/3 of my property to other than my daughter? Because we know that in the inheritance law, the girl receives one half of the boy, or vice versa. A boy or male will receive twice of the female of the same rank, of the same. So siblings, the sons will get more, they'll get twice as much as the daughters. And of course, and likewise, any rank of male always gets twice over the female. And of course, just so that we don't misunderstand, this is because of the obligation that males have to spend on females in the family. Females have no obligation to spend on anyone whatsoever. Males have an obligation to spend, particularly on the females of their family, as well as the males. So the responsible male is responsible for everybody, males and females. The female is not responsible financially for anybody. That's an important point that we all should understand as the men, and for the women to understand and know their rights. Hence, with inheritance, men will get twice the portion of a man, and that's what is happening. So he's saying, so 2/3 can go for sadaqah and 1/3 go to my wife. He's asking this question to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said no. And so I asked him, what about half? He said no. And then I asked, can I give away 1/3? In other words, 1/3 I'll give away as sadaqah, and my daughter will get 2/3 of my inheritance. And he said, the Prophet ﷺ said, give away 1/3, and that's still too much. In other words, you could give to your daughter even more than that, and it would be okay. He said, give away 1/3, and that is still too much. It is better to leave your heirs well off than to leave them as poor, begging people. You will not expend a thing in charity for the sake of Allah, but you will be rewarded for it, even the morsel of food which you feed your wife. We're going to come back to this one, inshallah. It's important. I said, Ya Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, would I survive my companions? And he said, if you survive others and accomplish a thing for the sake of Allah, you would gain a higher ranking and standing. You will survive them, and your survival will be beneficial to the people and will be harmful to the others, meaning it will be beneficial to the Muslims and harmful for the enemies of Islam. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas was one of the great warriors of Islam and one of the great leaders of the armies of the Muslims. And you will survive others till the people will derive benefit from you and others will be harmed by you. Rasulullah said, O Allah, complete for my companions their immigration and do not cause them to retract. And this part of the hadith, maybe someone can explain it. I don't know it, but I don't want to leave it out. Sa'ad bin Khawla was unfortunate. Rasulullah lamented his death as he died in Mecca. I think this is another companion. He was also sick and he died in Mecca. Whereas Sa'd ibn Waqqas lived after this for quite a while to the benefit of the ummah and to the detriment of the enemies of Islam. Going back to the point, the Prophet ﷺ was pointing out that, Sa'd ibn Waqqas, he wanted the reward of sadaqah. That was his intention. He wanted to give more reward for sadaqah while still fulfilling the right of his daughter. The Prophet ﷺ said, even feeding your family, including the point of, and he said it in a very loving way, putting the morsel of food in the mouth of your wife, what you feed with your wife, that is sadaqah too. So don't think you're going to miss out on the reward of sadaqah for doing khair to your family. Giving your family their needs counts as the reward of sadaqah for the man. And so, in other words, don't shortchange your family and give sadaqah thinking you're going to get more reward. Actually, no, you get more reward, the same or more reward, for feeding your family, fulfilling your obligation to them as you would for feeding others. In fact, we know in Islam the general principle is you are obligated to spend first on the closest people to you, and then out from there. So first, your immediate family, then your extended family, then the relatives. After that, your neighbors, neighbors, and so on. Rather, before going and helping people that are far away. So if you know somebody in need, local to you, close to you, in family or relationship or neighbors especially, then take care of them first before you spend on someone that is farther away. If they're in a good situation, then khair, that's fine. Then spend on something else. Donate overseas, find someone you don't know, give to a charity. But the best form of sadaqah is what you spend on someone who is close to you, and the closer the better, until their needs are fulfilled, and then you move on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one after that. And the beautiful thing, of course, was Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. He thought he was going to die, but actually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him a long life after that, that he was beneficial to the Muslims, and he was a thorn in the side of the enemies of Islam. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ikhlas, the strong, good intention, the sincerity in all that we do, and to grant us the ability to fulfill all the good deeds that we want to and that we intend in the best way. And we ask Him for the very best in the dunya and the akhirah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help our brothers and our sisters throughout the world, in Palestine, in Gaza, in Syria, in Sudan, in Yemen, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Chad, in Myanmar, in China, in all the places where there is oppression and suffering and difficulty. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to rain down and pour upon those who are suffering patience and sabr, and we ask Allah to grant them relief over their struggle and against their oppressors. جزاكم الله خير سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك ونشهد ان لا اله الا انت واستغفرك واتوب اليك اعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر ان الانسان لفي خسر الا الذين امنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر السلام عليكم ورحمه الله وبركاته